Back, it's in the 11th. There could be two friends or people close to him that were, all people close to him have been getting arrested or charged or different things going on. So then it eased off. That's finished by 2017. That was all 2017 to 2018 it passed. Got past that 2019, no Pluto, no Neptune, Uranus, no big shocks, 2019, just riding along. Can't reach me. I'm the king of the castle. But when we go through the next 3 years, there's not sudden shocks. Uranus is not hitting anything through this whole next 4 years. It's 3 years. Not sudden. But there's certainly big things at play with Pluto and Neptune. The whole purpose of it's not like we know everything that's going on. You know, we're looking at the timings. We're working with a caricature of what we're seeing from the chart and watching what's happening, trying to make the connections between it. But it really helps to have your information coordinated. If you organize the information, which is why I love these Saturn graphs, your graphs, because they allow you to put the outer timing in place. And you can see what's going on. You may not know the specifics, but you can see the nature. He's not a happy camper after this. In the next month or so, he starts being less content, less happy, more challenged, more threatened. If he gets more threatened, I'm not sure. Sometimes I wonder he could start a war just to get the pressure off of him, but he wouldn't win it. So like this kind of, anyways, there's funny things going on here. And but when we get to Saturn, we look at Saturn, we see in 2015 Saturn was squaring his ascendant. And oh, I didn't put it in here. I should have had it in. It was also, because they're almost square, just a little bit after that, 2016 was when Saturn hit the IC. It's not in here. Saturn hit the IC, and that was when he got motivated. He knew what he didn't want. That's when he declared his run for a presidency of Saturn on the IC. But 2016, there was no big obstacles interfering with him. He made his motivation. He decided to go for it. He went and he got elected. Right after, he wasn't necessarily even expecting to get elected, but he got elected. And then Saturn was conjuncting his moon, so he didn't even want to move into the White House, where he didn't want to stay in his apartment. Eventually, he had to make those moves, the guards, the family, the pressures that were there from the Saturn moon, making that adjustment. And then the Saturn opposing his sun, everybody watched minding his business and measuring where he is and trying to get him to be more, he's having to bide his time and get through the first year. There were the difficulties. All Saturn with the Uranus squaring and not being what he expected was a shock of the emotions during that first 2017. Then Saturn squared his Mercury in 2018, on and off. And 2018, Saturn, Justice began to look at his mental honesty as whether he's made deals that were honest or not honest, whether he played games with the Neptune squaring his Mercury, Saturn's coming up, and the government's looking at it. The authorities looking at it. On a personal level, he's being caught and having to redefine and realize, oh, geez, I got to be defensive, I got to be defensive, and I got a plan. But the planning goes against the Neptune of what's been set up. So it's like there's the face. So that built up to all of last year. His stuff with Ukraine and all these things going on. Who knows what was said or what wasn't? It's been an issue, but it hasn't been a Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto issue through 2019. It hasn't really heavily affected him. But right immediately going into this next month, Saturn's opposing his Venus. So right now they're putting in the impeachment process. When they run it through, it'll probably start going to the Senate, and he may have to fight to get the approval that he wants. The Saturn opposes Venus. If some other financial disclosure comes forward, like the Venus, Saturn opposes Venus, Pluto square Venus, and so if these things come out stronger, it comes back again where that sits there, August, September, October, November, the whole last 4 months of the election. Saturn's, his self-worth, his values are down. He's feeling depressed. He's not feeling appreciated. He's not feeling content. So that implies being less than popular as popularity diminishes. How much can it diminish? Does it diminish enough? Does he manage to squeak back in, or does he not? Big question. But you see the pressures. The moon, Saturn hits the Venus in January, February, the impeachment, and possibly his income tax, the legal things too. I think that income tax has a big issue because they may show what his financial dealings were the 4 years before he got president, during the beginning and before he got president. And that may bring up bigger confrontations with Pluto Venus. If he's had all sorts of dealings with Russians, it's going to affect, has he really been the Russian agent running the country? So that's the negative potential looking at it. On a personal level, he's still going to feel threatened, and it's going to get more confronting. There's going to be an audit of his finances, which I think is going to be not just the impeachment. I think it's going to be tied to his taxes. And when that comes out, it may start eroding some of his home base. So it's not looking good as we look at the election date in November 2nd, I think it is, in 2020. He's not looking good. He's not looking like, his popularity is not going to be what it was. He's had an awful lot of people yelling, but is his party entrenched enough to hold him in? It's going to take some people to rebel. Well, if he staves off the impeachment, can he solve the taxes? I'm not sure. There's certainly more and more audits coming at him than ever had been before, and more harshly. Pluto to Venus, to his finances, to his money, to every cent he had. There's going to be records and trails, and everything's going to be measured. And it's starting February, March, April, May this year. And it comes back again right after December next year. So if he doesn't win the election, he's not president anymore. He could be arrested and have financial confrontations and intense things going on for a long time, or a few years anyways. If he does get into being president, he can make very challenging things, pushing very extreme financial situations, and with a deceptive Neptunian fanaticism to it. Be really out of, if he's misused power up till now, he would possibly misuse it towards the future, or use it to just control what's his, what he thinks is his, the country, the people, everything. So I look at it, this doesn't look so hot. Okay. I think most astrologers will look at it and say, no, he has a chance of winning. But you have to think sometimes, even though that's going on, if the gang, if your support is coming, if he's built enough fear and enough prejudice and hate to the numbers of people hating or not wanting immigrants or not wanting these things to come in has built up enough, maybe they could keep him in power, but it's not a good picture. What would happen either way? He's not a good investment right now. Anybody with him, they're already getting arrested left and right for being around him. So with Pluto squaring his Venus, will everybody take the fall for him? Okay, so this is what we see. It's like you look at it, common sense, well, it doesn't look like he's going to get in. But I'm not a politician. I've looked at different charts of politics. This is an extreme battle going on. If I were to guess just from the Saturn, I'd be saying most likely he's not going to get in, and then he's got real legal problems and corruption problems that he's vulnerable to that catch up to him in 2021. If he gets in, there'll come up more scandals probably. But okay. So I want to look at the 2 years, the more exact transits coming up now. How we go for time? Yeah, okay, good. So here's the Saturn opposition Saturn. 2020 starts in January. Right now, January 10th, Jupiter opposes Mercury. That's an exaggeration of thinking. I'm thinking this, I'm thinking this. Is like, but it's also under Jupiter's opposing Mercury as Mercury Neptune square. There's a need to understand what he's thinking and what he's doing, or it's being directed. Attention is being directed there. Saturn opposes Saturn. Then in February, Mars opposes the Sun, so he's at his low energy time period, where it's like in the 2-year cycle, that's a battlefront. That's a little battlefront. He's not getting more patient. And then right after that, February 5th, Mars opposes the Sun, but at 6th, Saturn's opposing his Venus, and Pluto's opposing his Saturn. So this is a big deal, confronting his authority, confronting his opposing his finances. There's significant financial repercussions and emotional repercussions coming to him over in February. So what the fallout is, how he deals with that, when he doesn't get what he wants, when he's confronted, what will he do? His Mercury Neptune will probably blame everybody, blame everybody for his problems. But he's still a powerful person, and who knows whether that he blames it on China, or whether this builds up to a bigger extreme situation or not, hard to say. You certainly see the pressure on him, and it's hitting the nerve of not being content, not getting money. My selfishness, my stinginess, my money is being restricted further. How could this be? It's hitting the nerve of his sense of security. They're doing it to me. How could this be happening? They're all making this up. It's all false news, and how is it coming at me? As soon as it says it's false news is coming at him, it's really just saying how stupid I must be stupid to let these things happen to me if it's false news and it's getting to me. But really, it's possibly Pluto, the truth, that's coming right to his doorstep and looking to do the audit, the Saturn, Pluto's the Saturn, and the Saturn on the Venus. That's February 6th, February 13th. It's the whole of February. And his Mars is opposing the Sun. So he's not in strong position. Then by May, Jupiter's opposing his Venus. I just put in the little things. The Jupiter opposed the Venus again in June. So that's where they could be spending too much money, or confusions about, or understandings or misunderstandings about finances. Or he could be trying to make deals that aren't necessarily in his best interest. It could be costing him. Then by July, Pluto comes back and opposes his Saturn again, confronting his authority, his structure, his justice, his position. That's by the time the election campaign gets into more full swing. It could be that some of the early primaries, I forget how it works, but they're not going in his favor. You know, there's some confrontations and power struggles on there, reaching deeper than he expected. Then by September 9th, and since that's looking for the exact, we probably have to go a bit before that. We have another Saturn in there. No, Saturn goes into Capricorn July 1st. Where are we here? Okay, goes up, no, sorry, back, it goes back into Capricorn, it goes direct, and comes back to, no, it goes back and it hits the opposite, it goes back to oppose the Venus. So that would have been from about August anyways. Through August, and it built up to the exact point in September. It goes forward, and then it goes direct within 24 minutes away from that. So it's still conjunct within a degree this whole time, and it comes back to be conjunct to August 21st, October 21st, and then some past it. So this whole time of the last 4 months of the election, Saturn's opposing his Venus solidly. So it's going to cost him an awful lot, or maybe it costs him too much, or maybe they break rules. Like there's pressure around the finances. Venus is your finances, the financial base, your emotions, your contentment, your sense of being appreciated. He's not going to be feeling appreciated. To me, that means his numbers aren't going to be up the way he thinks. And can he do anything to say, well, he may see that he's not winning it.